Hey everybody, this is the Eric Tries Too Hard podcast, and this week I have yet another comedian. I have Lyle Drescher. How's it going, Lyle?
How's it going, man?
It's going very well. So, nobody's famous on this podcast, so just so
Mm.
people can know generally who you are, can you tell everybody you're a comedian, but your experience in comedy so far, as far as the kind of shows that you've been doing or how long you've been doing it for?
So I've been doing it for about 6 months, and I've only been going to like maybe there's not a lot of open mic comedy in Baltimore, but there's like Myth and Moonshine, High Tops, Coco Lane, Sidebar, Charles Village Pub, and a lot of other places, and it's been a good experience to be doing it. I've been doing it about like once a month, once a week.
Nice.
And yeah.
Well, I saw that you had posted a video. I don't remember which club it was at. I don't think it was any of
Oh yeah,
those, but
Magoobies.
in Magoobies, yep.
Mhm.
And you don't seem like someone who's been doing this 6 months. You seem a lot more just comfortable on stage and advanced as far as that is. Was this just something that came really natural to you?
Somewhat. I mean, like I've always wanted to do comedy since I was a very little kid, you know.
Yeah.
So it does come a bit natural just because before I did that I've been making like little movies and skits and everything. And yeah, I've been doing like when I was in like fourth grade, I had like a little web show that I used to do. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while, and yeah,
You tell everybody how old you are.
I am 17.
He is 17. Like that's
Yeah.
I sometimes I get very jealous of the technology that people have now. In
Mm,
that, like, man, I wish I had this. And thinking about you in fourth grade being
mm,
able to do something like that, I think
right.
kicks so much ass that you were able to have this drive and just start going from that.
Mm,
A lot of people don't even like bother doing that kind of artistic stuff independently until they're like out of college.
mm,
And you got to start as soon as you wanted to, and that's awesome.
mm. Well, actually, when I was listening to like the most recent episode of your podcast for a little bit, and
Oh
you
yeah.
said you said something about like how you were a 17-year-old who was obsessed with comedy and trying to make a room full of people who don't like you laugh.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, that's me right now.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was every class I'd ever been in. It's just
Mm.
like, how do I make these people who hate me? Just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Which
a
I
little like
guess,
that.
yeah, it's not that different than an open mic, I guess. If you're just like, sorry. So I'm sure you can hear that. My dog is barking. This has
Yes.
not happened in months.
Mm,
I have done what must be probably like 20, 25 episodes since she started barking. And
mm,
now that I'm having interviewers again, she's right at it. So if I pause this or pause whatever, I don't pause this shit. I
mm.
let it all hang out. And bring her in this room. That's why.
No
But yeah,
problem.
so okay, so that's really cool. Those places that you've been playing. I've been in bands who've played pretty much all those plays. I played Coco Lane,
Really?
CDPs,
Yeah.
Sidebar. Dude, one time my current band was booking some show for some touring bands, and they could
Mm,
only do a Monday, and we were trying to do it at Sidebar,
mm,
and I don't know. We booked the show on Monday. It was apparently a big deal. To get the date available, and then I found out it's because they had that Sidebar open mic comedy night every
right.
Monday, and they booked it last minute, and so a couple of stand-ups, I don't remember who, I never met them, but came to try to do stand-up, and there was a show going on, and I
Oh,
tried
really?
so hard to get the I guess the person who was running the door, who and the guy doing sound, to
Mm,
like let them go on and do stand-up in between
mm,
the bands, not because I thought it'd be a good idea, because I thought that would be the worst idea possible, but it
really?
would make me laugh really, really hard. Oh yeah, I love awkward situations.
Oh yeah. No, the Sidebar is really. I've only been there like 3 times, but it's like a really good mic. Like, there's a lot of people because sometimes you show up at an open mic and there's just not a lot of people there. But the Sidebar is always like in the 3 times that I've been there, it's been pretty
Yeah.
packed.
So that's when I would be more comfortable when there's three people there than there's was it somebody posted in the Sidebar open mic
Mm.
like Facebook group. Are you on that Facebook group?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, you should get on. It's like every time I go on there, it's just every open mic in Baltimore. People
Mhm.
just list what they're what they're up to. Um, but like there was one point where they posted they were like another great turnout, over 50 comedians showed up, and I was like, I'll wait
Oh
till you got
yeah.
like five. That's a little too much for me.
You know,
Yeah.
I actually I get sometimes I get more nervous when there's less people. You know, like
Really?
yeah, because
Because
like
they're actually listening.
'cause
They're not
it's a combination
distracted.
because they're actually like I have more problems talking to one person than I do to talking to like 50 people, and it's that same kind of dynamic. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I do. When I watched your video, it was you were entering it into, was it a contest competition type thing?
Yeah, like indie.com thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, so your intro, I'm not gonna lie, was very stilted and a little straightforward and monotone and just
Yeah.
kind of awkward.
Mm.
And then it comes onto the comedy, and you're the most popular guy in the room. You look like the goddamn captain of the football team. After like just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the fuck? But
But I've
that's
never thought
awesome.
of myself as the captain of the football team.
Well, that's something I do like to ask musicians, comedians, whoever. What was the like? I feel like every young, especially young men,
Mm.
they make a choice in school whether they're going the athletic route or they're gonna go the art route. Typically,
Oh,
what made you, and how early did you just go art?
art. I played soccer for a little bit in like first a really long time ago, and just nothing else since then. I'm not much
Yeah.
of a sports guy at all. I was playing a pickup game with my friends the other day, and like 5 minutes into the game, it's 2-on-2. The guy's like, "We should switch up the teams."
Oh man. I'm sorry to hear that, but that's okay. So
Yeah, that
so you learned last week. No,
yeah.
it's fine.
But I don't get
Um,
upset about it because
yeah,
you know, because I have other like if I didn't play sports and like I didn't have anything else, like I have something else. So
yeah,
when I get shat on for my lack of athletic ability, it's not that bad because it's not
yeah.
like
Because
I'm
what
bad
do
at
you care?
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I,
yeah.
it'd be one thing if like I was like when people shit on my comedy, that sucks because I'm trying to do that, you know.
I feel like that. Yeah, I feel like you come up to somebody who's 17, been doing comedy for 6 months, and you shit on their comedy. You're kind of a
Well,
douchebag.
no
Like
no
that's
one
insane.
no one's shit on my comedy. I
Oh, that's
like
good.
well I don't know people. I don't know who hates me or not.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Well, you also do a lot of videography stuff, right? Some film.
yes, that's how I know you from. I was
Yeah, this is
I
crazy.
don't
We
do that
actually
anymore.
know each other. You don't do that anymore?
Yeah. I don't
Oh,
do
you
that
do.
anymore. I don't do
Yeah,
that anymore because I had a horrible, I had a really bad experience. I got hired to film a wedding when I was like 15,
yeah.
and I was in the bathroom when they had the
You
first
slept
dance.
with the bride,
No,
huh?
I was in the bathroom
No.
when they did the first dance, and I missed it. And and it was horrible. And from then on, I couldn't do any more. I didn't like it, you know, when I was filming 3 p.m. and doing the actual filming was kind of fun, but sitting there and editing
Yep.
shit was just it was bad. Like it didn't work out for me. I don't
Yeah,
I don't
you.
actually know if I
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
finished that. Hmm?
You filmed a band called 3 p.m., which my band Heavyweights, our first show we ever played was with 3 p.m. We got randomly paired up, and we played a bunch of shows with them since. What venue was that show at that you filmed that we played?
Uh, I have
Do you
no
remember the
idea.
location at least? We played with them so many places.
I have no idea. I all
Was
I
it
remember
the?
it was
Yeah,
what if you say a name I might know it.
I wouldn't. I don't remember the name, but was it kind of like at a music store, or was it maybe like one of those VFW type halls, like a community center?
I think it was like a rock club.
Oh, was it Wrecker?
Yes, it was the record.
Oh, okay, Wrecker. That makes perfect sense. All
Mhm.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That
because
was fun.
when I went to friend you on Facebook, because I found you through Reddit when I was
Mhm.
trying to get more comedians on here, and then I went to find you on Facebook, and we were already friends. And then when I went
Exactly.
to message you the link to get on this thing, we've talked before.
We have. Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
I remember a lot because like I was trying to get like a start like doing a business filming
Yeah.
like live events of bands, and I tried to kind of get you to
Had
make
we had
film.
we been in the market at the time, and had I remembered that conversation later, we would
Mm,
have at least tried to hire you. We
I
have
know.
been the last year. We've been like dying to get somebody to film stuff for real, but
Really?
like everybody wants to. This is what I hate about half-assed artists, which is why I respect how like the effort you're putting in, especially at your age,
Mm.
is like every person I fucking meet at these shows. Oh, I'm a photographer. I'm a videographer. I'm
Yeah.
an artist. I'm this. Then you actually, I professionally do lyric videos. Then you actually, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll pay you a reasonable amount of money to do this for me. Oh, okay. And then they just never do it. It's
Mm.
like you're not an artist. Like you're not doing anything.
My thing with that is that if you say that you are something, you should have something to back it up. Like I know
Yeah.
people who are like, "Oh, I'm a writer." I'm like, oh, can I see something you've written?" They're like, "Well, I have this idea for this thing." Like you should like if I say I'm a filmmaker, someone should be able to ask, say, "Oh, do you have a YouTube channel?" I'm like, "Yes, here it is." Yeah.
Can I see your film? I love. I would like to see
Mhm.
some of your films. You filmmaker, you. Yeah, like no, that just yeah, that drives me up a wall, and partially because that was me for years. Not that I
Mhm.
like just said it to say it, but like I'd put half. I'd be like, oh, I'm a musician, and then I
Mhm.
put out music, but the music I put out, I wasn't putting the work in that I should have. And so like
Mhm.
whenever I see somebody, especially I have there are musicians that I know who have all this talent, who write these songs that are just incredible, and then they just get lazy or they get into drugs or whatever it is,
Right.
and all that's just all that I don't know ability just goes out the window, and that frustrates the shit out of me. But do you
See,
ever? I mean, yeah. Mhm.
well, like it's see, like I'm a comedian, so and comedian in film, it's like I have to be at the open mic to be practicing or doing. Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
like if I just sit down and try to write jokes, you can't really do that. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
you
absolutely.
can if you're really skilled at it, but like I can't just sit down and write jokes.
Yeah,
So where like a musician, I think could easily. I don't really know anything about being a musician, but could like easily sit down and just practice guitar.
yeah, of
You
course.
know,
Yeah,
it's
that's yeah.
different because it's hard. It's harder for like comedians and filmmakers to practice.
Yep. Well, that's how I feel about podcasting, and I didn't realize it until I started podcasting, where it's
Mm-hmm.
just like I'm only whatever 7 or 8 months into learning my instrument, which is
Mm-hmm.
podcasting in this realm anyway. And if I'm not doing a podcast with someone, like I can think about all the topics and all the questions and all this to do, but if you're not actually doing it, you're not practicing it. You're just thinking about stuff. Like you're just
Mm-hmm.
thinking. You're not really practicing the specific skills.
Right.
Yeah, so you're just are you honing in on comedy right now? That's the main focus that you got?
I'm honing it on. I'm trying to do like once a week, but it's hard because I got curfew and I got all
Hmm.
these things and they're all very late at night.
Yeah.
So I
I was gonna
gotta.
say, what's it like? How often do you have to stay up into those insane hours like open micers always talk about in order to actually get on stage?
Well, I it's hard to say to my mom, hey, I go to my mom at 9 o'clock and say, hey, I'm leaving. I'll be back at 11:30. I'm going to Ellicott City. I live like half an hour away from there. Um, it's it's tough, kind of, but I don't do like if I lived alone, if I was older, I'd probably be out a lot more.
Yeah,
I always feel
yeah,
like I'm not because I've been doing it for 6 months, but I've only been up like 30 or so times, and I want to be doing it more, but it's hard because I have those limitations
yeah,
and a
absolutely.
mother.
And are there any places that you can't perform at, or you have to do very like go way out of your way to perform there because you're under 21 or under
This
18
is
even?
under it. I'm trying to think. Uh, well, there are places like in DC and
Hmm.
in Frederick and other places where I'd like to go, but they're on school nights
Well, that
at
booming
like
Frederick
11.
scene, that booming
Yes.
Frederick scene.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in DC that I would really like to do, but DC is like an hour and a half away.
yeah. So what are your plans after high school?
Uh, well, I'm gonna go to. I really want to go to an out-of-state school, but those are very, very expensive.
Yes,
And
I did. I did that, and it
you did?
is, but it is totally worth it. Holy shit,
Where'd
it's
you
very
go?
much worth it. I went to Elon, North Carolina,
Elon,
which,
North Carolina.
oh yeah, it's like dead center of the state.
Mm.
You're pretty close to like Durham and Raleigh, reasonably close, not close, but you're reasonable distance from Charlotte.
Mm.
Um, it's definitely, I like this area a lot better because you have DC, Baltimore, and if you want New York, relatively
Mm.
close.
Mm.
But as far as like, I wanted to be a musician, but I had no, like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go to a state that has a great music scene. It turned out
Mm.
North Carolina at the time had a fantastic music scene, so I got pretty
Mm.
lucky there. But my main thing was I want to leave the state so I can just start again. And not because I had anything
Exactly.
to burn down, I just wanted to be able to start fresh and just be like, this is me by myself. I'm not going, all my
Mm.
friends went to school with all their other friends,
Right.
and they ended up not really doing anything. I just wanted
Mm.
to get away, and yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Like I love Baltimore and everything, but I want to leave
Yeah. Well,
because
yeah, yeah.
well,
No,
yeah,
go
because
on.
like
Yeah.
well, it's like, yeah, I love Baltimore, but I don't want to be here forever.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just like I don't want to be here for 4 more years. I want to see what else is going on.
Yep. No, yeah, definitely. I ended up moving back because of work, and then
Mm.
stayed here. So here's what I found about this area,
Mm.
is that, and I grew up in Ellicott City, so I
Mm.
was also very close to DC. Like you're an hour and a half away. I was
Mm.
only 30, 40 minutes away, so it was very easy to go any
Mm.
show or any comedian I wanted to see since I've been like 16, has been a stone's throw away, and so like one thing that I've noticed, and I think it's an old Seinfeld bit, an
Mhm.
old Seinfeld bit. I forget if it's his or not, but it's talks about how it's like everybody always says that they want to make a bunch of money so that they can go live on the beach. And he's like, well, what about the guy who was born living on the beach? It's like,
Right.
oh, this is it. And
Mm.
that's kind of how and granted, if you live in LA or New York or something, or maybe
Mm.
Chicago, you have that more. But that's kind of how I felt in this area, where other than those giant cities, where the hell am I going to go? I already have DC, which is a major, major city, and Baltimore, which is a
Mhm.
less, but still major city.
Yeah.
You really have access to whatever you want. Um, so, like, personally, like, if I want I guess, an internal life journey, I would go somewhere else. But
Mm.
there's not much better you can do than here as far as just having shit to do or places to go.
Yeah. Well, I'd really like to go someplace like New York or Los
Yep.
Angeles,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
because there's not a lot. Like Baltimore's got a really like it's got a good comedy scene, but there's not a lot of mics. Like New Yorkers can get up 3 times a day,
Yeah.
uh, every day.
Yeah.
And the comedy the scene in LA is very good. I want to go someplace like in Philadelphia or Boston,
Yeah.
where I heard it's very good.
My sister just spent like a year living in Boston, and now she's living in Philly.
Mm.
And like and she's not an artist by any means, but
Mm.
the places she tells, she's like, oh yeah, there's open mics every block. There's
Mm.
like live shows every block. Like that's really awesome. And you actually do have not as much as those areas, but in DC you do have a lot of that. You can find a
Mm.
lot of that in DC. And weirdly enough, you can find a lot of that in Annapolis. I don't know if you have to be over 21, but that's Annapolis reminds me of like a much smaller version of those cities where there's a band or a comedian in every window as you walk
Mm.
by.
Yeah, there's one open mic in Annapolis, but I have not been there yet because Annapolis is pretty far from me.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Who did
can't
you who were you seeing, like what comedians when you were 16?
None.
Uh,
Because no, I saw a shit ton of bands.
a lot of bands.
I mean any major band I like definitely, but any like at the time, if we're talking 2002 to 2004,
Mm.
any punk rock band that you could imagine that was starting to blow up at those times, or even ones that were just really really small, I saw everybody in the punk slice of the genre pie coming through. No, my comedian. So I got obsessed with comedy at the time,
Mm.
but I would just like every single night. I mean, watch Daily Show, but then watch Tough Crowd was the big thing.
Mm.
And then I would find every, at the time, not particularly well-known comedian on Tough Crowd, and I would just go online and find every scrap of video, audio, O&A appearance, whatever I could do to get a hold of it, and just got completely obsessed with it. And, but man, it wasn't until I went to college and saw, dude, I didn't realize it until I heard an old bit of his recently. I saw, you know Pete Holmes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Pete Holmes in 2007.
Oh, really?
And he was bombing in broad daylight at 3 in the afternoon in front of like 15
really?
people. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really fucking cool. I remember because there was one bit that I really liked, and in the moment I went, ha! And he turned to where I was and goes, yes, 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 stay with me, stay with me. And I was like, I'll never forget the guy who kept screaming, stay with me.
Right.
And then I heard that bit on a record like 4 years later. But yeah, no, like, and then I went a lot to the DC Improv. I got to see Kevin Hart like right before he like blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
And yeah, me and my friend went and got put in the front row, and we were like actually pretty late. We weren't sure why, and they just put us in the front row. And then we get in, and we're the only 2 white people there, and so. Yeah, so that's how early it was. It was before white people really knew about Kevin Hart, outside of like Judd Apatow, I guess. I'm trying to think like if there were any other notables. Dude, my friend called me up and asked if I wanted to go see Patrice O'Neill the night he did Dr. P, or Mr. P. I mean Dr. P, Mr. P, and I of course said no. I'll catch him later. I'll catch him the next time. Yeah,
that sucks.
Sad. Anyway, yeah. So do you get to see many comics outside of open mics, like any bigger names or middlers?
Yeah, I do. Oh, actually, this weekend I went to go see Lewis Black.
Oh, nice.
He was all right. Like I was a huge fan of Lewis Black when I was like in 5th grade.
Me too.
Like I didn't understand any of his political humor, but he was just on the TV yelling, and I thought that was hilarious. He was, he was all right. He wasn't as funny as I remember him. You know?
Nothing is when you're younger. That's always like just the greatest.
So yeah, I saw him. I went to the. Do you ever hear about the Oddball Festival?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went there.
You went to that? Yeah.
I saw like Gerard Carmichael, Sarah Silverman, David Tell, Louis C.K., Hannibal Buress.
What venue was that at?
Shit. Susquehanna Bank.
Okay, yeah. You went to the Pennsylvania show, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. Me and my wife, we talked about going to. I forget if there was one in Virginia or Pennsylvania, whichever one we were going to go to, and somehow we talked ourselves out of it. I think it was because we wanted to see a bunch of people on there, but we wanted to. If we were going to spend all that money, we would go see them when they came through, like headlining.
Right.
Dude, I saw. I guess it was a while ago. Maybe it was like 6 months ago. But I saw Rich Voss, who is so fucking. I had never seen like a comic like that live before. I'd only ever seen them, on TV or whatever. Just a comedian who's solidified themselves as like a king of the road comics, who can just crush a crowd without telling a bit. And just seeing somebody like that live was just unbelievable. Just like. He went on. He just decimated the crowd for 30 minutes, and I hadn't laughed that hard in years. Like it's just some of those comics where you hear on podcasts, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this guy, nobody knows who he is, but he just kills. He kills, levels the crowd, levels it." And in my head, I'm like, "Well, I don't know exactly what that means, but I believe you." And then you experience it, and you're like, "Oh, that's what it feels like to get leveled in a club like that."
Yeah, he's actually coming back to Magoobies. I think next month.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I saw him in Boston when I was visiting my sister. But, yeah, dude, they're at Laugh Boston, which is this club in, like, a hotel. It's pretty new. It's fucking great. It is a great place to see comedy. But, yeah. That's awesome, though. So, okay, cool. So, I mean, it's so funny. The way you talk about comedy is a lot like the way you present yourself on stage. Like on stage, you have to remind the crowd that you're in high school because you're about to tell a joke about like high school bathrooms. And that's it's true because we're talking about it, and I keep having to remind myself he has so much time. like you got all the options and time in the world. You say you've only gone up like 30 or so times.
Hmm.
The amount that you're going to be able to do, especially when you're out of the house
Right.
and in college, like too, it just yeah, the things that you'll be able to do. That's
Mhm.
really awesome. Do you ever find it's hard? Do you ever? It's so funny when you mentioned that you were in high school in your stand up. It
Mhm.
almost took me out of the moment because I had
Oh,
to
yeah.
like yeah reconfigure what I was already thinking about you, and so do you ever find that that's like do you ever find how do audiences tend to react when you say that, or do you think they just know when you walk on stage how young you are?
Oh, they. I don't think they assume that I'm 16 because I had a beard usually when I'm growing up. Um, I get a lot of really really good feedback from people about being young, and oh, let me think. Uh, yeah, no, people like I posted my sets. You probably saw them on like Reddit, I think. Yeah, you
Oh
saw
yeah,
them
yep.
on.
Yeah, I
Like
went
just
through
people.
your Reddit
Mhm.
whole all your posts and found tried to find some stand up. Yep.
Yeah, so I posted on like r/teenagers, and I just
Really?
got yeah, I posted on r/teenagers, and I got like a lot of, like they love me there at
That fucking
r/teenagers.
subreddit. God damn it.
Uh-huh.
Oh no! Every time I see, anything I've ever seen out of there was just people pulling like stuff that's just dumb comments.
So
But
yeah,
no, that's the yeah,
as far as the content of the sub, it's not amazing, but they like me there.
dude,
So
that's awesome. No, that's
mhm.
really really cool. God, that's man. I get very I don't know, like a resource like Reddit is just unbelievable if you can get some traction in there.
Mhm.
The amount of like the amount of I don't know like CD sales that my band has gotten because I
Mhm.
went on a very specific subreddit and
Yeah.
just posted something that like my band sometimes will sample before or after a song we'll sample something from the Adult Swim cartoon Home Movies, and I
Oh yeah.
posted that on a Home Movies thing and a shit ton of traffic just went to our site. Like it's just people there. I guess on just Reddit in general, I feel like they're more inclined to check out pieces of art that a fellow person made on the site than
Mhm.
other social networks, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or even other places like Tumblr or I don't know. It just seems like Reddit is more into, oh, I want to check out that thing someone else made.
Mhm. Yeah,
Do
Reddit's
you ever?
awesome because like if you like throw something onto Facebook, you might not get a lot of traction. But if you go into a specialized, like the great thing about Reddit is that everything is specialized.
Yeah.
So if you go into a specialized subreddit and you throw something out that really meets that niche, everyone there will eat it up.
Yeah. Do you ever find that that's harder? It's harder to be genuine in that situation when you're like, I always on Reddit, I always find myself struggling of like, I can just I know what to say to make people very happy, but I
Hmm.
also don't want to just be like a shill.
Right.
But that's no, that's really cool. How did you brand your? Is that how are you kind of branding yourself? Because it seems like you're promoting your stuff, even though you're pretty new at this.
Hmm.
You're very open to promote your stuff.
How did I brand myself? I post most of my shows on Facebook and stuff. Not like it really gets people out, but
I was gonna say well, yeah, that's because people want to experience something from their basement as opposed to live.
yes.
Bands experience this so much right now. People don't want to come out. You can get thousands and thousands of plays on your Spotify page, but that same person who's listening isn't coming to a show. Like
Mhm.
it's just a strange. I don't know.
But like it's awesome because even if you can't get a lot of people to come out, you can still get like a ton of people to listen to a CD or watch a video or something like that.
Yeah,
But
that is yeah,
hmm?
yep. Mm-hmm.
No, what are
Keep
you gonna
going.
say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that is one thing that like where you draw the line with comedy and music.
Hmm.
With a band, you can say, "Oh, that's awesome." That like I can genuinely say, not a day has gone by in the last 3 years where someone didn't listen to a song that I made, and I have tangible evidence of that, and that's pretty sweet. But like
Hmm.
with comedy, unlike with shows, you go see a smaller band live, they're not going to be as good as the record. That's just how that works. Even if
Hmm.
you see a big band live at a small venue, it's not going to be as good as the record. You
Hmm.
see a comedian live, they're and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like 100% of the time you're going to enjoy it more being there
Oh,
with the medium
definitely.
of comedy.
Comedy is much better live than it is because I don't know, like when for me, like if I'm watching comedy on my computer or something, I don't laugh as much. as I do when I'm, live. I don't know what it is. It's just about like the energy of the
Human,
room
yeah, it's a
is different.
human thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I'll rewatch stand-up stuff or even any comedy show that I've seen a million times if I'm showing it to somebody who hasn't seen it before. I get so excited for that,
Mm.
and I'll laugh at things that I hadn't laughed at in many viewings because it's just that energy with somebody else brings a whole new light to it.
Like if you watch a comedy movie with other people or in like a theater, it's funnier than if you just kind of sit in your closet watching it on your laptop.
Yeah. So I want to get. I ask any comedian I talk to this. I want to get your take on this. So my actual profession, because I don't do music full time or
Mm.
even part time, barely, but no. My job is I work in the psychology field.
Oh yeah.
And I've experienced something that I've related to a lot of comedians on. And tell me if you relate to this. If not, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. But if you have, please tell me. Where the two things I find that every single person on this planet assumes they can do
Mm.
is be a comedian or be funny or
Mm.
be a psychologist or just know how people's inner workings or be a
Mm.
therapist, whatever it is. I
Mm.
feel like people just kind of assume that they can do either of those things. Do you ever find that people kind of talk to you about comedy like they could do it just as easily?
People have. I think that being funny and doing stand-up comedy are very, very different. Like,
Yes.
you can be. I think they're very different. Like vice versa. Like you could be a really funny person in real life and be not amazing at stand-up or writing jokes. And I think you can be really good at stand-up and writing jokes and not like a class clown or
Hmm.
like the life of the party.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's like like people have come up to me and say, "Oh, you can use that as material and stuff like that," and they're really joking, but I don't think it's something where everyone goes, "Oh yeah, I can do that," you know. Um, a lot of people think it's very hard, and
Yeah, that is true. You know what? Now that I'm thinking, I was thinking more like just generally being funny, not necessarily being a comedian.
oh
It's just
yeah,
like, oh yeah, I'm funny. I'm
oh,
funny.
just generally being
Um,
funny.
but no, but you're also what you just said brings up a very good point that I hadn't really thought about much. Is that due to podcasts and due to just a huge uptick in the last few years of stand-up comedy stand-up comedians on TV in various forms,
Mhm.
and a lot of shows like Louis is a great example of all of the behind the scenes of comedy and what it is to be a comedian. I feel like the general public is becoming more knowledgeable about comics and stand-up comics. Uh,
Uh, yes, we're definitely in a bit of a boom, similar to what was going on in the '80s. Yeah, it's getting a lot better because of the internet. Like I don't know if you've ever been on r// stand up shots,
No,
but
oh
like
yeah, well I
I
see
see
them.
it.
I see when they get
Mhm.
upvoted to higher, like high on the front page. Yeah,
Exactly. So like people can get exposure through stand up shots. I see stand up shots like everywhere. I see them on Facebook. There's a lot more Comedy Central like has a lot more stand up shows now.
yeah, yeah.
Stand up is pretty big now. There's a lot more comedians. There's a lot more. I don't know a lot about this, but what I think is that there's a lot more comedians, but there's a lot more avenues than there were
Oh, absolutely.
because of the internet. It's just a lot easier to build a following, and like anyone can do a podcast. Anyone can make a movie or do a skit and just throw it up online. You don't need a bunch of money, or you don't need anything. All you really need is like the ability to write stuff down.
And that goes back to what you said, or that combines with what you said about Reddit and having all these niche audiences. When
Mm.
you combine all the different avenues, the ease of putting something online, and the um, inexpensive production, combined with avenues to find your audience,
Hmm.
you end up having a thing where more. It's like, and this is what the music industry experienced about 10 years prior, which I
Hmm.
watched and lived through. And it was like when I was touring and stuff, like that's it's where the big, what's it called, the I guess they call it like a major league paycheck
Hmm.
is almost gone. No one's making, very few people are making millions and millions of dollars, but there are far more people who are able to make a living or at least
Right.
break even to do the art that they want to do.
Mm.
And I that really comes down to just, yeah, the audience now has so many different options, and there's so many people who are able to produce those options.
Mm.
I mean, yeah,
Like, yeah,
that's
it's a
really.
lot easier to.
I'm just
Well,
super. This delay. So that's the one thing about the Google Hangouts is there's like a quarter-second delay for you and
oh,
I,
yeah.
and so it ends up like that's why I do another podcast like this that I don't host usually, but there's a host, three panelists, and a guest, and
Mm.
so you got five people doing this. And for the longest time, we were like, "How come we're talking over each other so much? This is really it's like because it's a fucking delay." Sorry, keep. I was just gonna say I'm impressed still impressed about your way of marketing yourself on our teenagers. I think
Mm.
that's fucking genius. But sorry, keep
Well,
say
thank
say
you.
what you're gonna say. Yeah,
Shit, what were we talking about? Um,
delays.
Delays.
No,
Well, I
no.
was gonna say like, so I'm also a filmmaker, and it's so people like talk about Kevin Smith.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
was on
Oh
like an
yeah.
r slash I was on like an r
Hey,
slash
Kev.
filmmakers thing,
Yeah.
and people were talking about how it costs a lot of money to do what he did, and this one guy was being really negative, but he was like, oh well, that's like a 1 out of 1 million thing with him, but there's not a lot of risk anymore. Like he had to take out like $30,000 to make his big movie. You can make a movie. You can make a feature length movie with $0. All you need is a camera and some. Really don't need a lot of special effects,
Yeah.
or all you need is like an editing program, which everyone has iMovie and everyone has a camera. So there's really no excuse
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, there's the before Andy Samberg got on SNL, there was
Mm.
the quote from one of the dudes in Lonely Island where it was like I think the quote was just, "Hey, when we're making our videos, we don't need to make them look like shit. Like, there's no reason today that these should look
Mm.
like shit because you can just do that from your apartment or from your house, and you can just it's all there." And granted, $0 of a budget might be a stretch, but assuming you have all of the
Mm.
equipment, like a reasonably priced equipment, which wouldn't take that long to save up for, you can absolutely learn how to do it, especially with YouTube. Dude, a couple years ago, I
Mm.
said to myself, hey, this dubstep thing is kind of weird. I want to learn how to make those sounds. And in the next 3 hours, I just looked at some YouTube videos, pulled up a music program, tweaked some synths, and boom, you know how to do it. Like
Mm.
it's that easy to just learn. So pick something as random as that, and you can just learn how to do it. And especially with filmmaking, there's obviously lots and lots of people who are dying to show you how to make film.
Mm.
And I feel like people would rather be. You ever feel like fame is more important than money now? In a
Uh,
lot of ways. Reddit being
yes.
a very good example of that.
Because you can get your 15 minutes of fame by with upvotes
Yep.
on Reddit. Yeah, it is a little bit more. It's more accessible than money, I would say,
Well, it's
because
almost like because here's how I see it on on Reddit. There are a lot of or anywhere that somebody is trying to show you how to do something or teach. Like back in the day, what you would try to do is you'd write a book to sell it, and you'd want to hold on to that information unless you were being given money in exchange for it.
Mm.
Or books, seminars, talks, teach classes, or I don't whatever, however you want to do it. But now it seems like people are far more interested in, and I think this is a good thing for spread of information. They would rather give something away for free to be known as the person who did that or to be associated with that greater thing that they're sharing than to be the person who's unknown but made a profit off of their work.
um, I'm not sure there are a lot of people who are unknown and make a profit out of their work. Like, what do you mean by that exactly?
Okay, like here's a good example. So I've been in bands forever, right?
Mm.
Currently, and I'm gonna just put them up on this website that I work on for free. But when I was writing, very short way of telling you about this project,
Uh,
lots of music articles or how to like grow your band articles and books are aimed at bands who've never played a show before and they have no idea what they're doing, or bands that already have really successful touring and then they want to make it to that next level to be like famous or nationally well known. There's no help for bands that have a couple thousand fans who can't afford to tour without hemorrhaging money
Mm.
and who are just stuck in that in between spot. And so I wanted to use the things that me and a lot of my other friends in bands like that have learned to help those bands figure out how to take it to that next level where you are regularly touring.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was thinking like I there are plenty of people who've written books, and I was thinking about doing that same thing about like, oh, why don't I put it on Bandcamp or somewhere else where I can charge people to buy it and read it to have that information.
Mm.
But at the same time, I see plenty of other people who are just giving away that kind of information for free, and I
Yeah.
think they would rather be the ones who are getting the clicks as opposed to the people who they know their names of. I know there are plenty of books that I can name that bands across the board use to try to get bigger, but I can't name. I can name maybe one author, and that's because I know him personally. But that's
Mhm.
about it. It's yeah,
Yeah, I think there actually is a lot more of people just giving away free information. I mean, like I grew up with the internet, so I'm not quite sure what it was like before that. But there's like a giant wealth of guides and how-tos and stuff like that. Like if you go to like the sidebar of a lot of specialized Reddits, there's like a bunch of resources of
hmm
how to like tour with your band or how to do stuff like that. And it's all for free. It's like just a giant wealth of information. It's really good.
yeah. And why would you buy anything? Because everything's up for free.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, and that's yeah, exactly. So and just to be clear, I definitely grew up with the internet. I had it since
Mhm.
about maybe 5th grade, but we didn't have good internet until I was in like college. Like
Mhm.
people forget that like the first like the early social network stuff, there was great file sharing. We had file sharing for fucking days. In fact, you could argue had better file sharing back then because it was the Wild West.
Right.
But as far as like you didn't have something like YouTube or Wikipedia, and if you did, it was in a beta stage and it wasn't popularized or had a wealth of information the way that it would now.
Mhm.
And when you're yeah, and when your social media, your main social media outlet is MySpace, and that's on the cutting edge,
Mhm.
it's it's not good internet.
Right.
But yeah. That's really cool, man. So, do you have any projects coming up, or you just hitting the stage whenever you can?
Hitting the stage whenever I can. I'm working on a movie about ghosts that I'm
Yeah,
about to
tell us about
film.
it.
It's about a kid who reveals to his family that he is a ghost, and they shun him for it. So he enters a spooking contest to prove that he is the best ghost.
A lot
It's
of
very.
yeah, a lot of racial undertones. I feel.
I did not think of that.
No, I'm kidding.
Racial undertones. Do you know who Tim and Erica?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff like inspired by them. You know,
good job.
so it's kind of just weird.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really cool. No, I definitely like that whack. Like, I just almost used the word wacky to describe something that's good. Forgive me. I'm gonna say fucking zany next. So
Yeah.
one show I liked this comedian a lot, but I never saw his show. But you ever watch the Eric Andre show?
Yes, I
Yeah,
love the Eric Andre
that's like
show.
fucking. Oh my god, my my wife likes a lot of comedy stuff,
Hmm.
but she does not enjoy the non sequitur or the just
Oh.
absurd or like extreme meta stuff.
Hmm.
And so I can't get her to watch Comedy Bang Bang with me because it just enrages her. And I sat her down and I saw Eric Andre's show and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna fucking hate this so much more than Comedy Bang Bang. So I sat down and I was like, no, this is a really good show, and I put it on, and maybe two seconds into the intro, she was like, oh, this is one of those bullshit shows.
No, I
I
love the Eric
like,
Andre
yeah,
show.
yeah. Oh, me too. I just love angering my wife more.
Oh yeah.
Definitely like that more. Oh, yeah, are you dating anybody? Any
Mm.
ladies in your life?
No, there are currently as of now no ladies in my life.
You don't get hit on by like cougars at the comedy clubs?
Oh yes, everyone really wants to get a piece of that comedian.
Dude, I used to play in like a super cock rock band. Just like every
Mm.
song was like wow 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 wow
Mm.
wow. That's my impression of the whole band. And we played a show once at Coco Lane, and a group of older females of the species
Mm.
came up and started grinding on our singer.
Yeah,
He
you
was
get a lot
so
more.
he was so into it.
Yeah, you get a lot more girls doing music than you do doing comedy, I would assume.
And well, the truth is, you don't. You can. It's music's a weird thing when it comes to feeling like a rock star because it's
Hmm.
like 9 shows out of 10, you feel like like somebody who showed up uninvited. Like it wasn't even a show. Like people are trying to go there to have a good time. Well, until you get real fans. Like I'm actually finally
Right.
experiencing real fans with my current band, but never before then. So it was
Hmm.
like every 10 shows, 9 of them you come there and you get treated by everyone involved as if you just showed up and started playing,
Hmm.
including the people putting on the show, which is mind blowing to me. Um, but then 1 show out of that 10, you just get a huge crowd that goes crazy and treats you like rock stars. And yeah, girls will talk to you, and people will pay you inordinate amounts of money and buy you lots and lots of alcohol, or in your case, Kool Aid. I'm not sure what your preferred beverage is, but
Hmm.
yeah, no, it's just every once in a while. But trust me, you get treated like a doormat far more often than you get treated like a rock star.
Yeah, it's like that in comedy too,
Yeah.
a lot. Because you don't like the open mics are they're populated by comedians more than audience members, and
Yeah.
most comedians don't like to listen to other comedians. Not because it's just because you get sick of it after a while, like
Yeah, dude,
because you've heard
I'll walk
everything.
out on. I won't watch every single band we play with.
Mm.
If I like them, yeah, but if you can't, you just can't be expected to perform that often. You said you're performing every week. Like
Mm.
if a band performs every week and they're not on tour, that's insane. That's an insane amount of shows.
Mm.
Even if they are on tour, if they're doing 52 shows a year, that's still a lot. My band's only doing 30, maybe 40 shows a year, and
Mm.
you can't watch it. It's so much. It's so much.
Mm.
Yeah. So how do you feel about I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Something along the lines of how do you feel about how you as are most of the comedians there a lot older than you typically?
They're usually either they're not like a lot of comedians are like usually in their 20s.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like
okay.
college
Yeah.
kids. But like
Oh,
no,
college. Okay.
I'd say like I'm probably the youngest dude that I've
Yeah.
had. I did like an under 21 show, and there were kids
Yeah.
younger than me, like in middle school. But
Do you
I
find
haven't
that
seen
makes
that.
it yeah? Do you find that it makes it harder to I guess relate to them or to find your way in the scene of comedy because of that, or is it just kind of you're everybody's there for the same reason, so you're all kind of connected in that way?
I would say it kind of makes it a little bit harder to relate. Like when I did that the under 21 show, I had a really good time because I felt more like they were my peers than I do with the older people. Because like I could go into a room with a bunch of 16-year-olds that I don't know and make friends, but it's harder to do that when you're dealing with adults because it's just kind of a foreign environment for me because everyone's kind of sitting around and drinking and it's just like I don't know anyone and
Yeah.
it's easier to do that kind of stuff when they are other teenagers than when they're adults. But like I can still talk to them about like comedy and stuff like that.
Do you just skulk around and just go? I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make friends.
Uh, I do a little bit of sulking around, but
Dude, we're gonna wrap up in a couple minutes, but one more
Mm.
thing I did want to ask: could you? And this is just something I haven't actually asked any comedians this, and I would love to get your take on it. What is I mean, and you can only speak to the scenes that you're in. Is there what's? Can you just describe what it's like to be a part of the comedy scene? I know what it's like to be part of various music scenes and all of the. It's a whole other social subculture. So I want to
Mm.
know what it's like to be part of the comedy scene. Like, how would you describe that to somebody who's never like hung out at an open mic?
You know, I don't know if I'm the best guy to ask about
All
that.
right, well that wraps it up for now. Just so how about so far? What are your experiences?
Well, so far, well, I like it's really sometimes it can be really fun, and other times it's like exhausting. Like I've been to my share of open mics where everyone there is just kind of wiped out, but like but they're still there. You know, like it takes a good amount of audacity to still be going out night after night if you keep getting like shit on by just the late hours and
Hmm.
everything else like that. So everyone cares a lot about what they do. Like there are like a lot of kind of rookie people who are just there to do it and try it out, and they don't like it that much and they leave. But the people who are like in it, like they're really in it.
That's awesome to hear. All right, do you have any plugs? YouTube page, Twitter, any of that stuff? I'll throw it all up on. If you send it to me in like the Facebook message, I can put it
Okay.
all in the description of the podcast.
So I have youtube.com/Grand Theft Xylophone, and
That's funny. Usually those kind of names I don't find funny. That's really funny. All right, sorry. Keep going. Keep going.
so I got that, and I got Twitter is at Lyle Makes Movies.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
excellent. So you can follow him there. Go check out the YouTube. And hey, thanks so much for coming on, man. I hope you had fun.
All right, yeah, thanks a lot, man.
All right, sweet. We'll keep in touch. All right, see you, dude. And peace
See you later,
out.
man.